Daf Yomi, Tractate, Bava Metzia, page 42. Top of the page with the Mishnah, starting with the words Hamafkid, Ma'oz, Eitzel Chavero, etc. The Mishnah says, in the case of one who deposited coins with another, and that bailee bound it in a cloth and slung it behind him, or conveyed them to his minor son or daughter for safeguarding, or locked the door before them in an inappropriate, meaning insufficient manner to secure them, the bailee is liable to pay for the coins, as he did not safeguard the coins in the manner typical of bailies. But if he safeguarded the money in the manner that bailies safeguard items, and it was nevertheless stolen, he is exempt. Gemara, the Talmud says, granted, for all the other cases the bailee is liable to pay, as he did not safeguard the money in the manner that bailies safeguard items. But if the bailee bound it in a cloth and slung it behind him, what more was he to do? Rava says that Rabbi Yitzchak said, the verse states, and you shall bind up the money in your hand. You shall bind the money in your hand. V'tzarta hakesef biyadecha. Deuteronomy 14:25. From which it is derived, although it is bound, in order to safeguard the money, it must be in your hand. And apropos that verse, Rabbi Yitzchak says, a person's money should always be found in his possession. He should not invest all of his money, leaving him with no money available for expenditures, as it is stated, and you shall bind up the money in your hand. And Rabbi Yitzchak says a person should always divide his money into three. He should bury 1/3 in the ground, and invest 1/3 in business, pragmatia, and keep 1/3 in his possession. And Rabbi Yitzchak says, blessing is found only in a matter concealed from the eye. As it is stated, the Lord will command blessing with you in your storehouses, Deuteronomy 28, verse 8, where the grain is concealed. The school of Rabbi Yishmael taught, blessing is found only in a matter over which the eye has no dominion. As it is stated, the Lord will command blessing with you in your storehouses. Tanu Rabbanan, the sages taught, one who goes to measure the grain on his threshing floor recites, may it be your will, O Lord, our God, that you send blessing upon the product of our hands. And if one began to measure the grain, he says, blessed is he who sends blessing upon this pile of grain. If one measured and afterward noticed this blessing, this is a prayer made in vain, because blessing is found neither in a matter that is weighed, nor in a matter that is measured, nor in a matter that is counted. Rather, it is found in a matter concealed from the eye. As it is stated, the Lord will command blessing with you in your storehouses. Shmuel says, there is safeguarding for money only in the ground. Rava said, and Shmuel concedes if one received a deposit on Shabbat Eve at twilight, that the rabbis did not impose upon him to bury it in the ground immediately. And if at the conclusion of Shabbat he delayed and did not bury the money within the period of time needed to bury it, he is liable to pay the owner if it is stolen. And if the one who deposited the money is a Torah scholar, and the bailee thought, perhaps he requires money for Havdalah, And that is the reason that he did not bury the money immediately, then he may delay burying the money a bit longer. The Gemara comments, and now that rummagers who dig to find and steal buried property are commonplace, there is safeguarding for money only in the beams of the roof of a house. The Gemara comments, and now that dismantlers who attempt to find and steal property hidden in beams are commonplace, there is safeguarding for money only between the bricks of a wall. Bava said, and Shmuel concedes that money can be safeguarded in the wall or alternatively between the corners of the house. And now that tappers who tap on walls to find and steal property hidden there are commonplace, there is safeguarding for money only in the handbreadth of the wall adjacent to the ground or in the handbreadth of the wall adjacent to the ceiling, as tapping on the wall will not reveal their existence. I guess this is the days before people had personal bank accounts. Or commercial banks, in general, banks. Banks might have been just for certain people. Anyway, Rav Acha, son of Yosef, said to Rav Ashi, we learned in a Mishnah there, Pesachim 31b, the legal status of leavened bread upon which a rock slide fell is like that of leavened bread that was eliminated, as it will remain there forever. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says this ruling applies in any case where the leavened bread is covered to the extent that a dog is unable to detect it, and it is taught how much is the measure of detection of a dog. It is 3 handbreadths. The question is, here, what is the halakha? Do we require the money to be buried at a depth of 3 handbreadths or not? Rav Ashi said to Rav Acha. Rav Ashi said to Rav Acha. There, with regard to bread, it is due to the scent that we require 3 handbreadths to obscure it from the dog. Here, with regard to money, it is because it must be obscured from the eye that we bury it. Scent is not relevant, and therefore we do not need 3 handbreadths. The Gemara asks, and how deep must the money be buried? From Sikera said 1 handbreadth. I wonder how it's from Sikra. Amar from the Sikra. Wonder how many times he shows up. Not very often. First time I remember seeing him. First time. But anyway. The Gemara relates. There was a certain man who deposited money with another, and the bailey placed it in a willow hut from which the money was stolen. Yehoshua said, although with regard to thieves, placing the money in the hut is effective safeguarding, with regard to fire, it is negligence, as it is likely to burn. Therefore, it is a case where the incident was initially through negligence and ultimately by accident. And the bailey is liable to pay. And some say, although with regard to fire it is negligence, with regard to thieves it is effective safeguarding. Therefore, it is a case where the beginning of the incident was negligence and ultimately the damage was caused by accident, and the bailey is exempt. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is, in a case where the incident was initially through negligence and ultimately by accident, the bailey is liable to pay. The Gemara relates, there was a certain man who deposited money with another. Eventually, the owner of the money said to the Bailey, give me my money. The Bailey said to him, I do not know where I placed it. The matter came before Rava, who said to the Bailey, every circumstance where a Bailey claims, I do not know, is in and of itself negligence. Go pay. The Gemara relates, there was a certain man who deposited money with another. The Bailey gave the money to his mother, and she placed the money in a chest, and it was stolen. Rava said, how should judges rule in this case? Let us say to the Bailey, go pay, but he can say there is a principle.